Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network as the Mariners look to clinch a playoff spot this afternoon as we are about to begin the first of two games today, the first being against the Orleans Firebirds, and the second will come later tonight against the Brewster Whitecaps. Hi again, everybody. Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry, as always, and a unique situation for the Mariners. They'll be playing two different teams in a one-day span, and Tyler, a lot at stake here as we are anxiously keeping an eye on that score out in Chatham, see if the Brewster Whitecaps will be able to keep their playoff hopes alive with a win. Even if they lose, their playoff hopes still alive, but not looking too good right now for the Whitecaps.
Yeah, and for the Mariners, the math is simple. A victory for Harwich and a loss for Brewster at any point from here until the end of the season results in Harwich being in the playoffs. So Chatham's doing their part. They're up 5-0 over the Brewster Whitecaps right now, that game going on at Veterans Field. And the nice thing for Harwich is even if they don't get a victory here against Orleans, they have two opportunities to hand Brewster that loss themselves. They'll be playing them tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. and then out at Stony Brook Field tomorrow to end their season. That game will be played at 4:45, and it's split doubleheader season across the entirety of the Eastern Division. As Harwich will play 2 at home, Brewster will play 2 on the road, and Chatham and Orleans will split 1 game and 1 at home and 1 game on the road each. So a wild day of baseball across the Cape. But the important game here is with an Orleans Firebird squad that Harwich has struggled a little bit with this season. They are just 1-4 against Orleans this year, but a pretty good guy to get it done out there on the mound in Nick's walk. And I really like this start by Coach Engler. Of course, you got to be careful with how you use your pitchers going forward. Not one of the deepest parts of this Mariners squad, losing pitchers left and right. But with Zwak out there, a really good chance to go out and pick up the crucial victory here against Orleans.
And Zwak will be facing on a very tough Orleans Firebirds lineup with former Mariner Jacob Hurtubise leading things off out of the University of Army. Or not Army, just West Point. I don't know why I added University to that. But anyway, baseball set to begin. Third baseman Nico Cavadas playing in, as we all know the speed that Jacob Hurtubise has. And the first pitch from Nick Zwak is a fastball on the outside corner, and we're underway from White House Field.
Yep, pretty tough Orleans Firebirds lineup, and Colin will set that here in just a minute. But yeah, of course, Hurtubise, the ex-Harwich Mariner, who had to be released due to a logjam in the outfield, and he's had his fair share of crucial hits and plays in the outfield against Harwich.
There's the bunt down the third base side. It's a good one. Cavadas has no throw in. There you have it, the speed from Hurtubise, who has done really well against the Harwich Mariners since joining the Firebirds. He is now 3 for 8 against them in 3 games. So let's take a look at that Orleans Firebirds lineup. As you just saw Hurtubise, now Julio Marcano steps in of New Jersey Tech. He will play first base. Max Troiani out of Bentley will play left and bat third. Shea Whitcomb, the second baseman out of UC San Diego, will bat fourth. Rob Emery out of San Francisco, the DH, batting fifth. Eddie McCabe, the third baseman out of Georgetown, batting sixth. Tanner Murray, shortstop from UC Davis, batting seventh. David Avidia, catcher from Grand Canyon University, will bat eighth. And Tennessee's Zach Daniels will bat ninth and play right. First pitch to Julio Marcano, misses up and away for a ball.
And Julio Marcano, an interesting story. He was actually with the Orleans Firebirds at the beginning of the season, but a shoulder injury made him go home and try to rest that up. And fortunately for him, he was able to come back out to the Cape to finish the season with Orleans, so a valuable piece that's going to be back in the lineup here for the Firebirds, as a quick toss from Zwak over to first will keep Hurtubise close. And that's the thing that a lot of teams need, Colin. Oftentimes, the edge that one team will have over another come playoff time is which players they can add in the last couple days of the season.
Late additions definitely could make the difference, especially for a Firebirds team that's been streaky all year long, as the 1-0 is on the inside corner for a strike.
Yeah, you talked about it. I mean, they had the 6-game winning streak at one point that put them in first in the East, and then they followed it with a 6-game losing streak that dropped them all the way down to fourth, that back in June. So a team that, when they catch fire, no pun intended, can be one of the best teams in the Cape in the CCBL, but just not very consistent throughout the 2019 campaign.
1-1 misses up and away for ball 2, and as you mentioned, Firebirds a lot of success. They are 4-1 against Harwich this season. The only loss coming on a no-hitter in a 7-inning game by Jacob Polish, who's actually sitting right behind us up here in the broadcast booth.
Trying to keep cool. Definitely a hot, muggy day out there. It's 85 degrees with a real feel well above that, as this one swung through and missed by Julio Marcano. And Polish has had luck in a couple of 7-inning games. The complete game shutout, the first in the CCBL season earlier this year, and then, of course, the no-hitter thrown against the Orleans Firebirds. So certainly the kind of guy, if you're Coach Engler, that you want to throw out there in a crucial game with Brewster should it come down to that. And, you know, the upside, if they win today, they can save his arm for the postseason.
Hurtubise takes his lead off first. Now the 2-2. is off the outside part of the plate. And we talked a little bit yesterday about Nick Swak, and despite having the 4.43 ERA, he really has looked pretty solid all year long. And that strikeout to walk ratio, one thing you mentioned specifically, 17-8 coming into today, pretty impressive.
He's had a lot of runs that have come across this year that haven't been entirely his fault, a couple of unearns that really came back to bite Harwich.
And there's a line drive out towards center, but Joey Weimer back in the starting lineup over to make the catch, and that retires Marcano for out number 1.
So that'll bring up Max Troiani, the singles machine as he's better known, and one of the strangest guys statistically on the entire Cape. You look at Max Troiani, a guy who this year is hitting .333. He has 43 hits, and 42 of those are singles. I mean, that's just absolutely unheard of, and especially when you think of, you know, all the guys out there that get a really good bat on the ball. He's got plenty of speed. It's not like he doesn't have double speed, but just hasn't really put the ball in a position to get himself up an extra base.
Pickoff move on Hurtubise, and a lot of those singles coming against Harwich this season. He's hitting 7 for 13 with 6 runs driven in against the Mariners.
Yep, he's had a couple of crucial hits and has really helped Orleans out, as this one will miss up and away. That's the other thing with Harwich against Orleans this year, is that in 3 of those 4 losses they had the lead. It was just late comebacks from the Orleans Firebirds that allowed them to come and get on top of the Mariners late. So Harwich will be looking for an early lead. Right now they're looking to prevent anybody from coming across, with a speedster standing on first.
Troiani swings and pops one foul off to the right out of play. Last time these two teams played, in the second game of the doubleheader, which was an 8-3 victory for the Firebirds, the ball was just jumping out of the yard. A combined 5 home runs from both teams, including one from Chris Gallen and one from Chris Lanzilli, both their first of the season for the Harwich Mariners, as the 1-1 misses upstairs. Starting to see more and more power from the Mariners as we've gotten later and later into July. Corey Acton with that 3-run home run in yesterday's game to cap off an 11-0 victory over the Chatham Anglers. Swak with the 2-1, and it catches the inside corner on Troiani, 2-2.
And I know a lot of people were kind of thinking that that Chatham team, after conceding 2 straight victories to Harwich, may be just content to coast the rest of the season, but they certainly haven't shown it throughout the early parts of their game with Brewster today, as again, they've jumped out to an early 5-0 lead.
Long look at Hurtubise. Now he's going, as 2-2 is fouled off once again by Troiani. As looking at that Brewster game, it is still 5-0 Chatham, but Brewster does have the bases loaded with 2 away in the top of the 4th, looking to maybe chip away at a very tough pitcher for Chatham, who's gotten 7 strikeouts in 3 2/3 innings. That being, of course, Ty Madden. Another 2-2 is lined in through the middle of the infield for a base hit, as Hal Hughes with a full extension dive couldn't quite come up with it, and there's another single for Max Troiani, and Orleans is threatening with 2 on and 1 away.
I mean, again, it's one of the strangest, most consistent things in the CCBL this year, but here comes arguably the most dangerous hitter in the lineup, Shea Whitcomb, who had a big-time 3-run bomb yesterday that helped Orleans get a victory over the YD Red Sox. And the other thing with Orleans, they're a team that has a little bit of something to play for, because while they can clinch a playoff spot with a win, a tie, or a Brewster loss or tie today, they're in a position where if they win out, no matter what else happens across the league, they get the 1 seed in the East. So, you know, maybe a little push here for the Orleans Firebirds trying to gain home field and take that route through, or take the road through Eldridge.
First pitch fastball from Zwak is over to Shea Whitcomb, who is 4 of 15 on the season against the Mariners, including a home run and 5 runs driven in. So the 3 and 4 hitters combining for 11 RBIs against Harwich this season.
It's where the majority of the damage has been done, and a very tough part. Zwak's going to have to be cautious here.
Swinging a hard hit ball out towards left, starting in and going back in. That ball's off the wall. Gallen misread it. Coming in to score is Hurtubise. He misplays it again. Now Troiani's going to try to score. The cutoff throw gets away, and Winkle's going to come up and play it. But it's going to be 2 runs in on a double from Shea Whitcomb.
And just a weird play out in left field, as it looked like Gallen thought the ball was going to be short. He took a step in. He was settling under it looked like, and then all of a sudden he turns around and has to sprint full tilt to the wall to get it. And then after that, trying to pick it up, and it just kind of keeps going off his hands. So a tough break for Harwich, as that's going to put a runner on second with Shea Whitcomb and score 2, and Orleans has jumped out to an early lead.
The scoring going to be pending there. That's going to be at least an RBI double for Whitcomb. You have to wonder if he'll be credited with the second one. So the second run scoring via an error, so just the one RBI for Shea Whitcomb as first pitch fastball to Rob Emery catches the outside part of the plate.
And this kind of continues to be the story almost of Nick Swak's season. Unearned runs have really kind of come back to bite him, as it hasn't really been all his fault. He had 5 unearned runs coming into this. Now he'll add a 6th.
Brewster is on the board after a walk driving in a run, 5-1 from Chatham. As the 0-1 is going to miss high. But back to that play with Gallant. He really misread that ball off the bat. He took a couple of steps in, and then that ball almost got out of the ballpark.
I mean, it's not the end of the. I mean, not the end of the world out there. And again, he's looking right into the sun back behind us right now. So, kind of a tough play when it comes off the bat like that. But it does result in a couple of runs coming across. Harwich will have an opportunity to get him back after they get out of this inning. Although with a runner in scoring position and only one out, they may not be done scoring yet.
So it's a 1-2 count now to Rob Emery out of San Francisco. Emery also with a home run this year against the Mariners. Actually came in the last game between these two teams. So Zwak looking to get out of the inning with limited damage. The 1-2 misses up and in.
And this is an Orleans team that has mathematically clinched a playoff spot, as no matter what happens with the Brewster Whitecaps, Brewster, if they win out, could potentially tie Orleans, but the tiebreaker is head-to-head record, and Orleans taking a season series victory 4-2 over the Brewster Whitecaps, so they're already mathematically in.
That just shows how big that game was yesterday for the Firebirds, as the 2-2 is swung on and foul tipped in the mitt for strike 3, so Nick Swak picks up his first strikeout of the ball game, and now a runner on second with 2 away in the inning.
Yep, and a chance to get Eddie McCabe and come out of the inning with limited damage done. Again, a 2-run lead, certainly not something that Harwich is not capable of coming back on. So plenty of baseball left to play. A reminder that this game will be a 7-inning doubleheader game, and with the new ruling for the CCBL, no extra innings will be permitted. So it'll be 7 innings flat for Harwich and Orleans here in both games, and then Harwich against Brewster later tonight.
First pitch swinging is McCabe, and he can't make contact, 0-1. Eddie McCabe this season hitting .278, 10 runs batted in. On base percentage at .365, so quite the spark plug in that 6-hole for Orleans this season. And the 0-1 is a very late swing, so velocity looking pretty good from Zwak so far. Just the one mistake pitch to Whitcomb, and that played at 2 runs, only one of them earned.
Yep, Eddie McCabe choking up on the bat a little bit here with a 0-2 count. Again, not something we see a ton of guys do, but he'll get a bit more protective here as Zwak looks to put him away.
0-2 is popped up to the right side of the infield. Acton heading back, looking for it. Ball's trailing in. Daniel Cabrera comes in to make the catch, as the sky and the sun causing a bit of problems so far for Mariners fielders, as an RBI double from Shea Whitcomb highlights a 2-run top of the first for the Orleans Firebirds. Mariners will get their first chance at the plate. 2-0 Orleans. You're listening and watching Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Bottom of the first from White House Field, as the Mariners look to get back the 2 runs that they gave up in the first inning, and they'll do it against a pitcher they had success against the last time that he faced the Mariners in Adam Seminaris. Seminaris out of Long Beach State. Didn't exactly get the job done in the front end of that doubleheader, Tyler.
Well, I mean, in his defense, his team didn't score a single run, but yeah,
or get a single hit.
Or get a single hit. So, you know, it was a tough day for the offense behind him. And in that game, he went 3 2/3. He did give up the 2 earned runs against Harwich and 4 strikeouts to 3 walks. The interesting thing with Adam Seminaris is how long will he go in this game? Because, again, he's a guy whose arm is pretty darn close to falling off. He threw 94 innings at his respective college last year, and now he's thrown 25 officially and then 3 unofficially in a game that got rained out. So his arm cannot be feeling too great here at the end of this season, and Orleans is going to need him in the playoff push. A very big game here, and trying to pitch him. But again, with the playoff spot already clinched, you really wonder how deep they're planning on taking Seminaris into this game.
So Seminaris will look to improve on his last outing, going 3 2/3 against the Mariners. 2 earned runs on 5 hits. He did walk 3 and struck out 4, so a little bit of control issues as, in addition to the 3 walks, he plunked Riley Terada. So he'll look to rebound in this outing and try to help Orleans, as you mentioned earlier, keep their chances at the 1 seed alive. So Daniel Cabrera will lead things off for the Mariners out of Louisiana State. And the first pitch to him is going to miss low and outside. Cabrera will be followed by Chris Galland out in left field, Joey Weimer in center, Chris Lanzilli in first, Nico Cavadas at third, Christian Fedko the DH, Pat Winkle the catcher, Corey Acton the second baseman, Hal Hughes the shortstop, as Cabrera hits a ground ball to second. Easy play for Whitcomb, and it's 1 batter, 1 out to begin the bottom of the first.
And for as good as the pitching has been all season long for Harwich, I would argue that over the course of the last 10 to 15 games, the highlight has really been the offense. I mean, with these guys we said all season long, with the numbers back it up, they're guys who have the capability to go out there and just start tearing the cover off the ball, and that's exactly what they've been doing recently, especially guys like Chris Galland, Joey Weimer. I mean, 1 through 9, this lineup has been performing, and this is the perfect time of the season for them to be putting the pieces together.
So here is Galland. He swings the first pitch. It's a line drive right at Shea Whitcomb. So he's had a busy start to this game, both offensively and defensively, as he makes the catch for out number 2.
Yep, a good grab there by Whitcomb, a ball that just hung up a little bit too long there. Thought it may have had a chance to drift over his head, but here comes Joey Weimer trying to get things started with 2 away here in the first inning. Harwich trailing by 2.
Weimer making his first start in quite some time. Last time that he made a start, you'd have to go all the way back to July 26th. So it's been 4 days as he was nursing a knee injury. His first pitch is a breaking ball in the outside corner for a strike.
Yeah, not really a traditional one either, as he was bitten by some kind of a bug, and that's what got him. So good to see the swelling go down, and he's back in there after getting a pinch hit appearance yesterday.
Ground ball to third, fielded cleanly by McCabe. The long throw is in the dirt, and unable to dig it out is Marcano. So Weimer will reach base, and that's going to be a throwing error on Eddie McCabe with 2 away.
Yeah, not a ball that was impossible to pick out there, but one that just didn't end up happening as Julio Marcano, again, he's a little bit rusty over there at first base. He hasn't been in a baseball game in quite some time, taking that time to rehab his shoulder injury. So a runner's on base for Chris Lanzilli, who had just couldn't have asked anything else out of him yesterday, as he went 4 for 4, 3 runs scored, a double, and 2 RBIs.
Also reached base 5 times as he was plunked in the middle of that game. First pitch to Lanzilli is swung on and hit out towards left field. That ball sending Troiani back, all the way back in front of the wall. It's gone! Max Troiani kept going back, and he ran out of real estate. And Chris Lanzilli with his 2nd home run of the season, and this ball game is tied.
And I'll tell you what, Troiani could have made that catch, but he hit the fence. You saw him kind of flinch really hard and lose his hat over the wall there. So he wasn't really aware of where the fence was, and when he hit it, he went down hard. The ball skips over the top of him, and that's going to be a 2-run home run for Chris Lanzilli. And you talk about a guy who's getting hot. Lanzilli has been absolutely killing it over the course of the last 10 games. He is hitting a cool 500 over his last 10, 556 over his last 5. And he tacks a home run and 10 RBIs onto that total.
First pitch to Nico Cavadas is in there for a strike. The last time that Chris Lanzilli was retired at the plate, you would have to go all the way back to the 2nd inning against YD on July 27th, because he reached base 4 times after grounding out in the 2nd, and then he wasn't retired in the game. Well, okay, he actually was technically retired on a sac fly against Chatham, but it's been a while since he's had an unproductive out, is the bottom line, as the 0-2 is in the dirt to Nico Cavadas.
Yep, that one skips outside. Cavadas is falling behind here 1-2, but it's kind of been the passing of the torch between Nico Cavadas to Chris Lanzilli in terms of who's been the RBI machine. Cavadas had an excellent start to the month of July, but has kind of slowed down over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Seminaris looking to rebound as the 1-2 is fouled off by Cavadas, who leads the team in home runs with 9.
Yep, and I believe still leads the team in RBIs as well, as he built a pretty sizable lead in that category with 30 RBIs on the year. Lanzilli's going to have a ways to go at 14.
The 1-2 is in the dirt. So Cavadas looking to reach base perhaps via a walk. Hasn't been the most patient hitter all season long, as he's been in the top 5 for the most part of the season in strikeouts in the entire league with 41, but certainly drives enough runs to make up for it. And he lines this one out towards left field, and Troiani had a little bit of trouble tracking that one as well, but he's able to make the catch, and the side is retired, but not before a 2-run bomb from Chris Lanzilli evens the score at 2 after 1 inning. You're watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Bottom of the second from White House Field, Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry, and after a strong start for Orleans on the RBI double from Shea Whitcomb that would make it 2-0, all of a sudden, Tyler, big home run from Chris Lanzilli, and we're all square after 1.
It was a brand new ball game, and the guy who's got to be more relieved about that than anybody is Nick Zwok, who continues to work out on the bump here in his second inning of work. And a reminder of what Zwok's working with out there: a fastball, a slider, a changeup, and a cutter that he's been working on throughout the course of this summer. So a good 4-pitch guy, and this is actually this is another starting appearance for him. He's been a starter a majority of the season, but he did have the one relief appearance in between these 2 starts. So good to see him back out there in the quote-unquote rotation. Of course, this year, that starting rotation is so loose that, it'll depend on who wins and who loses these next couple of days as to who we'll see. And Harwich will be getting a few late reinforcements as well, as a couple of pitchers will be activated, arriving sometime either later today or tomorrow. So that could potentially help Harwich out, as Greg Tobin and John Teehan will be joining the team as additional pitchers.
So Tanner Murray will lead things off, the shortstop out of UC Davis, and he swings at the first pitch, hits a chopper over to Lanzilli. It's going to be a close play, but Chris wins the foot race, and Murray is retired for out number 1.
Yep, more of that Chris Lanzilli speed over there at first base, and he's able to not only sprint to the bag, but also put on the brakes quick enough that he doesn't end up running into Murray down the line.
So David Avidia, the catcher, gets an opportunity. He hasn't been in the lineup over the last couple of games between the Firebirds and the Mariners, as Rob Emery had done a lot of catching, but he is the DH this afternoon. First pitch from Zwok misses inside.
Quick update on the scoreboard out in Brewster. Still a 5-1 game in favor of Chatham, and keep in mind that is also a 7-inning game, so no more, no less. One way or another, somebody's going to come away in that one.
Fastball on the inside corner, and the big thing there was Jeremy Wu Yellen coming in to get Tyler Madden out of a jam, as he left the bases loaded with 2 away before departing, and Wu Yellen struck out Mason Dodd to end that scoring threat, as the 1-1 is in at the knees to Avidia.
Yep, a couple of times where some momentum's been squashed. One here in this game is Orleans, after going up 2-0, had some positive momentum, but Harwich quickly silences that, and that turns into a pretty positive thing for the Mariners, as now they can go out there and not have to worry about trying to guard a deficit.
1-2 is a breaking ball, swung on and missed for strike 3, as a good-looking off-speed pitch from Nick Zwok, and he records his second strikeout of the game, 2 away in the second.
Yep, so to the 9-hole we go. It'll be Zach Daniels here trying to get something started again for the Firebirds with 2 away here in the second.
Daniels, one of the top 50 prospects for the 2020 MLB draft, according to D1Baseball.com. He was listed number 48 out of Tennessee. And he'll take the first pitch on the outside corner for a strike. Daniels, however, has struggled against Harwich this season, hitting 0 for 9 with a walk and a run scored.
Well, he's struggled in general this season, hitting a .167 with 36 strikeouts and only 4 walks.
The 0-1 is popped up right side. Lanzilli heading towards the dugout. Ball's going to take him a little bit back towards the field, but he makes the catch. And it's a 1-2-3 second for Nick's walk. We head to the bottom half of the inning. 2-2 is your score. You're watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Bottom of the second, Harwich Mariners and Orleans Firebirds tied at 2. Mariners looking to move the season series in the final game between these two teams to 2-4 and get a little bit of revenge on a team that has been really tough against the Mariners this year, Tyler, and the Orleans Firebirds.
Yeah, but again, I mean, Harwich has been hitting so hot over the course of the last 10 days that it may or may not even matter, as they've just been putting on an absolute clinic. So here comes Christian Fedko to lead things off, hitting in the DH spot today, and he will try to start things for the Mariners here in the second inning as we're knotted up at 2 apiece. Harwich looking to take the lead for the first time today. They went down 2-0 and then bounced back with a 2-run Chris Lanzilli bomb over the left field fence. So looking to maybe strike and find their way on top here.
Fedko first pitch swing and rips one up the middle into center field for a base hit. Fedko looking to build off some momentum after yesterday's game where he reached base via single and also scored twice. So leadoff man on in the bottom of the second. That'll give Pat Winkle an opportunity.
That's one of the things that makes Christian Fedko so good is even in the innings where, or even in the at-bats where he doesn't find his way on with a hit, he's going to be patient, he's going to wait for his pitch, and more often than not, he's going to find his way on base, be it sometimes through an error, sometimes getting beamed, but very patient, and now his speed is back on first here for the Mariners with nobody out.
First pitch to Pat Winkle. Misses in the dirt for a ball. Winkle out of the University of Connecticut. Drafted out of high school last year in the 31st round by the New York Yankees.
Yep, and he's got his teammate on first base. I think this is the first time we've seen these two hit back-to-back in the lineup all season long, as Fedko has traditionally hit a little bit higher.
And slow roller to Whitcomb at second. He'll not even think about the play at second. Gets Winkle at first as Fedko advances for the first out of the inning.
And that's still a productive out for Harwich with Corey Acton coming to the plate here. He's been an RBI machine himself, as Acton had a big, busy day yesterday, a 3-run home run and a 2 RBI triple for Corey Acton. And, you know, for a guy who was hitting under 100 going into the All-Star break, he's been just absolutely tearing it up over the course of the last 2 weeks. And, again, that's been a very welcome sight to a Harwich lineup that needed that kind of production out of the bottom of their lineup.
That home run did come against a pretty tough pitcher in Austin Wells, as he now has a home run against a lefty and a righty this season. The homer against the lefty coming against the Orleans Firebirds earlier in the season. A jam shot into left field for a base hit. They're going to send the runner home. Fedko coming to the plate. The throw from Troiani is a great one. It's right on line, and he is out. Max Troiani making up for that blunder out in left field when he had an opportunity to maybe rob that Chris Lanzilli home run, and he throws a bullet home for out number 2.
Yeah, and once again, Fedko is going to be thrown out on a very close play, or not a very close play that time, but man, he's got so much speed. But how about Troiani out in left field? Put an absolute laser and threw that one home, and a good tag applied by David Avidia to get the out. So Runner on first, 2 away here for Hal Hughes at the bottom of the Harwich order, and top of the order looming, but the Mariners, that would have been a big run. No hesitation at all there by Coach Tebow over there at third to send him, though. They knew they wanted to try to get Fedco in all the way, and that's the kind of aggressive baseball you have to play when you're on the cusp of a playoff berth.
So Acton, the runner on first with 2 away and Hughes at the plate. First pitch to Hal Hughes is on the inside corner for a strike, and yeah, I agree there. I think the right call was to send the runner and test Troiani's arm. He clearly has a good one, but early in the game, going for a playoff spot, go-ahead run potentially, I agree with the call. The 0-1. That one catches the outside part of the plate for a strike.
I mean, the main rule is you never want to make the first or the last out at third or home, and that's just the second out of the inning. The inning's allowed to continue here with Hughes at the plate, who's another guy who's really been getting better and better over the course of the last couple of weeks. The entire bottom of the lineup fits that MO for Harwich. Hal Hughes hitting .258 over his last 10 games.
0-2 misses in the dirt, and of course the 2 runs coming in the first inning for Harwich on the 2-run homer by Chris Lanzilli with 2 away in the inning. So the trend continues this season of the Mariners getting the job done with 2 outs. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Hal Hughes. Acton, the runner on first, and a throw over. And the ball gets away as Marcano couldn't hang on to it, and Acton's going to take second. So now a runner in scoring position once again with 2 away.
Yeah, this has been, I mean, again, these are the breaks Harwich didn't catch early in the season, and it seems like karma's kind of giving them a lot of these back, as these are the little mistakes that came back to bite them early on that now it's coming back to bite teams like Chatham, Orleans, and Brewster here at the tail end of the season, and Harwich has been capitalizing on multiple occasions. So it's an RBI situation now for Hal Hughes, who's dug himself a bit of a 1-2 hole, but we've seen him hit out of these before. The infield has shifted wildly to the left here.
Hughes himself had an RBI yesterday in the 11-0 victory at the 9 hole, and he'll swing and foul a pitch back to stay alive.
Right now, Shea Whitcomb is playing just to the right of second base. They'll slide Tanner Murray over a little bit, and Eddie McCabe will play the line. As you
mentioned, Whitcomb close to second. That leaves a lot of space on the right side of the infield if Hughes can send one the other way. 1-2 from Seminaris is kind of a half swing from Hughes, but he can't make contact, and that will end the inning. So after a promising start to the inning with the leadoff single by Christian Fedco, the Mariners can't capitalize. We're through 2 from White House Field. 2-2, Orleans and Harwich deadlocked. You're watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. We head to the third. 2-2 is the score, and a quick reminder that this edition of Harwich Mariners Baseball is brought to you in part by Cape Cod Healthcare. Urgent care is now available at 4 Cape Cod Healthcare locations: Hyannis, Falmouth, Sandwich, and right here in Harwich. Open after hours and weekends, staffed by ER physicians, expert care when you need it. Learn more at capecodhealth.org/urgent care. So as we go here to the the visitors half of the third inning, it'll be the top of the order due up for Orleans: Jacob Hurtubise, Julio Marcano, and Max Troiani, 3 guys that contributed to a 2-run first inning for the Firebirds. They were able to strike for 2, and then Harwich responded with a Chris Lanzilli 2-run home run, and we're knotted up at 2 here as we go on to the third. Quick update from Brewster: still a 5-1 game. Chatham leading the way there, and that is big as this game continues to move. That game is through 4 innings, so 3 more left to go out at Veterans Field. But here again, it's 2-2. We're all knotted up, and it'll be Jacob Hurtubise, who laid down a bunt single back in the first inning, up for a second time. Cavadas playing well in on the infield grass. Corners are ready for another bunt, and squaring around, pulling it back, and taking strike 1 is Jacob Hurtubise. And it's going to be a real uphill climb for Brewster, trailing by 4 and going up against a very tough relief pitcher in Jeremy Wu Yelland. Of
course, Chatham still does have something to play for, trying to get the 1 seed and make sure that the path through the playoffs goes through Veterans Field as Hurtubise fouls this one off. Jacob Hurtubise wasted no time getting right to work with the stolen bases. He's already got 7 walks, I should say, 4 stolen bases this year for the Orleans Firebirds since joining the team in early July, I should say. Here's one foul away.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think all 4 of those steals came in his very first game with the Orleans Firebirds. He had a record-setting game on the base paths in his debut.
Certainly one of the fastest guys in the CCBL as Cavadas is backed off onto or actually playing parallel with third base. Here comes the 0-2 pitch. That one will be swung on and taken to Cavadas, who comes in, picks it up on the grass, and fires across over the head of Lanzilli, who jumps up to grab it, and oh my goodness, they're going to say he got his foot on the bag.
Yeah, I don't really know about that one. As if he did, it was a very acrobatic play, but that ball really took him off the bag. It would have been a really tough play for him to get his foot back on, and we're going to have an early discussion here, and now they're going to go ahead and meet on this one. I think that's the right call here, is to have at least a discussion. The home plate umpire had a decent look at it as well.
I mean, that ball was wildly over the head of Lanzilli. It's incredible enough that Lanzilli was able to go up and get his glove on it, but then to come down and get his foot on the bag faster than Hurtubise was able to beat it. I mean, that's a really crazy play over there at first base. The one person that will not be arguing this, as they will call him out at first, will be Kelly Nicholson. Nicholson is suspended for prolonging an argument with an umpire that got him tossed the other day. So it was a 2-game suspension for Kelly Nicholson. He sat out yesterday's game. He'll sat out the first game of today's doubleheader, and he will be back for game 2. In his stead, it'll be Jamie Quinn, who, much like Harwich's very own Coach P, is 1-0 in his tenure as a manager in the CCBL. And it'll be Matt Troop doing all the pitching duties, making all the pitching changes. Here it's a 1-0 count for Julio Marcano. He is 0 for 1 with a flyout. The next pitch he sees will miss inside to make it 2-0.
Yeah, and I think he had a real argument there. It was a really tough play, and credit to Hurtubise for making Cavadas rush that throw. And Lanzilli was fighting to get his foot back on the bag, but first base umpire said he just did enough to get his foot there in time.
So an acrobatic play is the 2-0. Will miss low and inside, and that one will head back to the backstops. Walks falling behind Marcano 0-3, or 3-0. Again, for Julio Marcano, he does get to pick up his stats from the beginning of the season and add them on to what he's done since coming back. So on the year, a .348 average for him through 23 at-bats. He does have 1 home run in that span, so a little bit of pop in the bat, and here he will take a fastball in the inner half for strike 1.
Of course, if you're just joining us, this is a 7-inning game, the second game of this doubleheader taking place later today, as Brewster making some noise here as that pitch is on the inside corner. Brett Auerbach, 2-run home run. The Whitecaps have cut the lead down from 5-1 now to 5-3.
So the Whitecaps trying to make a comeback out at Veterans Field. Here Harwich trying to get and then stay on top of the Orleans Firebirds. Here comes the 2-2, and that'll be popped a mile high. Should stay. Actually, it's going to drift out on the outfield grass. Corey Acton comes in, makes the catch, and that will be good for the second out of the inning.
We've seen Corey Acton play more and more second base over the last couple of games. He looks really comfortable out there. He did have an error yesterday on a ball where he kind of just forgot to keep his glove down, but did end up costing him. But outside of that, seems like he looks as comfortable at second as he does at third.
So here comes Max Troiani. He's already 1 for 1 with a single of the day, and of course he came across to score courtesy of the error out there in left on the Shea Whitcomb double, and here he will chop one down the line right at Cavadas, who will pick it up and throw all the way across the diamond in time for out number 3. So the side is retired, a 1-2-3 inning for Nick's walk. We go to the home half of the third. Harwich knotted up with Orleans 2-2 here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we go to the home half of the third. Harwich looking for their first lead of the game as we're knotted up 2-2. And you mentioned it, Colin, some noise being made by the Brewster Whitecaps. This is now a 3-5 game out of Veterans Field in Chatham. And, of course, we have an eye and a half on this game, a half an eye on that one. As it's going to be intense going through the rest of the season unless, of course, Harwich can handle their business and take care of Brewster in the game later today. And that's, of course, assuming that both scores don't hold right now and Harwich can secure it with a win over Orleans and a loss from Brewster. But for the time being, it'll be Harwich up to the plate, and they will flip the book back to the top of the order. Daniel Cabrera, Chris Galland, and Joey Weimer due up for the M's here in the bottom of the third.
And all this baseball in the last few games, it's really exciting to kind of keep a close eye on everything that's going on across the league. And one of those seasons where it really could come down to the final day.
The final day, of course, not even the final day for half the teams, as 6 different teams will have a game on August 1st, a day that was originally scheduled to be an off day before the playoffs start, as the breaking ball is in there for strike one to Daniel Cabrera.
Yeah, Cabrera hasn't really had too much success against Orleans this season, just 2 of 13.
He will chop this one weakly foul and make it an 0-2 count. And Cabrera, you know, the one thing that's interesting with Chris Lanzilli hitting as hot as he has, this is a really solid lineup for Harwich. You can alternate between Pat Winkle and Mike Rothenberg as to which one of those guys is catching, but having Lanzilli as an everyday player, either at DH or first base, allows you to move Cavadas to third, and that's really helped Harwich as they were kind of at a loss as to what they were going to do at the third base spot. They, of course, bring Riley Terada in from YD, but after the injury to Tyler Keenan, I mean, that really could have been something that shook this Harwich team, and with Lanzilli hitting, that's kind of solved that problem.
And really, a big part of that is just a number of guys peaking at the right time in this season. That has truly made the difference in the Harwich offense as fastball misses high. And guys I'm mentioning really are Chris Lanzilli, Chris Galland, Pat Winkle, Corey Acton, Hal Hughes in this lineup. All 5 of those guys are really playing their best baseball at the best moment.
And even Mike Rothenberg, who had a couple of RBIs, this one is going to be drilled to deep right center, looking up, and it's gone. A solo shot for Daniel Cabrera, his second home run of the year, and Harwich has taken the lead 3-2.
The display of power from the Harwich Mariners continues as I don't think there's been a point in the season where they've hit so many home runs in the same span other than the multi-home run games of Nico Cavadas and Dylan Noisy. As Cabrera, we've seen him hit really well against lefties this year, and he gets around on one. And if you're Adam Seminaris, you're getting bit by the home run bug today, and it really hasn't been the right time for this to happen for the Orleans Firebirds.
And speaking of that, I mean, the power has really come late for Harwich, too, as stepping in here is Chris Galland. This is a team that was kind of middle to bottom of the pack in home runs. They have 21 on the year, but a lot of those have come over the course of the last few games. So Galland, one of the guys that added one of those, he takes a big cut at that pitch, and Seminaris is ahead here 0-2.
Yeah, Galland, of course, the Orleans killer, had a walk-off home run against him last year and added another one in the last meeting between these two teams.
The 0-2 to Galland. He will check outside. They'll go down, and he did go around, so that'll be the first out of the inning here as Chris Galland strikes out. And here comes Joey Weimer, who reached on an error back in the first. With 2 away, that got things started for Lanzilli, who's on deck.
Number 16, the center fielder from Cincinnati.
Great to see Weimer back in the lineup, though, after battling that injury. And definitely smart to be precautionary with him. He's such a vital part of this offense when he's healthy.
Weimer stands in. He will take the first pitch he sees down to third, picked up by McCabe, who throws across, and that one's going to be in time for the second out of the inning. So 2 pitches, 2 outs here. And now Chris Lanzilli comes up, and at this point, I mean, Seminaris is going to probably not give him too much to hit. You get the feeling he's going to keep everything on the outer half. And, I mean, Lanzilli has just been on an absolute tear.
Yeah, and he's been arguably the best, maybe the second best hitter against left-handed pitching this year for the Mariners, up there with Christian Fedko. And everything that goes over the plate to Chris Lanzilli just seems like he's driving the ball. No weak contact. Everything's just hit hard.
So Lanzilli stands in. Seminaris kicks and deals the first pitch. That'll miss low and away. And there it is. I mean, again, not going to be seeing too many more challenge fastballs to Lanzilli at any point during the rest of the season. What Chris Lanzilli has been able to accomplish over the course of the last couple of weeks has been nothing short of stunning, not just for what he's done, but for what he didn't do during the month of July. It was a really, or June, I should say. It was a really slow start for Chris Lanzilli, who hit just 107 during that span, but he has killed it. And here he lifts one high and deep to left field. Troiani goes back to the wall. He jumps. It's gone. Solo shot, Chris Lanzilli, his second of the day, and the Harwich lead is up to 2. They lead it 4-2 here in the third.
New Orleans Firebirds might need to get a call towards a major league roster to get out Chris Lanzilli, because nobody in the Cape League can seem to do it as of late, as he just gets behind another fastball and sends it over Troiani's head over the left field fence. I mean, this is just remarkable what he's been doing over the last 3-4 games.
And I'll tell you what, the one thing, and you and I both saw this yesterday during BP at Veterans Field, I mean, you saw Lanzilli putting balls all the way out there in the tree line. Cabrera's putting them out in the tree line. Cavadas put one up on the road out there at Veterans, and if you know what that looks like, I mean, he really got a hold of a few. And, I mean, again, we knew the power was there on this team. As this pitch misses low for a ball, it was just a matter of when it was going to show up, and, well, it showed up lately. So with a 1-0 count, Cavadas stands back in.
Of course, we're seeing it in-game as well. I mean, Pat Winkle almost hit one to the northern coast of the Cape against YD as the fastball misses outside.
Yeah, I mean, this has been just an ideal scenario for the Mariners, and this is, I mean, we said it too, this is a scary team. If they lock down a playoff spot, it doesn't matter who you are in the East, and despite their Eastern struggles early, this Harwich team is going to be very, very primed for a playoff push. As Cavadas takes this one to first, it'll be picked up by Mercano, and he will step on the bag for out number 3. So the inning is over, but not before Chris Lanzilli and Daniel Cabrera add solo shots to give the Mariners a 4-2 lead. We go to the 4th here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey as we go to the 4th inning. It'll be Shea Whitcomb, Rob Emery, and Eddie McCabe due up for the Firebirds, who now trail in this game by 2 runs. And Colin, right now, Harwich is on the doorstep with the Brewster Whitecaps trailing the Chatham A's 5-3, and Harwich now with a 2-run lead over Orleans. If both of these scores hold, the Mariners are in the playoffs.
Yeah, that would be great if they would get an opportunity to rest guys over not just 1 but 2 games with the win and the Brewster loss going into the second game of the doubleheader. But again, right now you just got to focus on taking care of business against Orleans. Don't really need to worry about Brewster. You got them later today, so a win against them anyways would give you a playoff spot. So just one game at a time for the Harwich Mariners, and they're certainly doing a good job of that so far, leading 4-2.
It's 2 games, but Colin, it's 3 days because they're also going to get an off day when only 4 teams in the league will on August 1st. It's the first pitch from Swak will miss low here, so the count goes 1-0.
And honestly, looking at the offense that we've seen from Harwich as of late, I think that gives more incentive for the YD Red Sox and the Chatham Anglers to not want to face them.
This one's going to be drilled out to deep left. Gallen chases it back, looks up, it's gone. Solo shot here for Shea Whitcomb, the big power hitter. And, well, here we go, Colin. Whitcomb doing what he does best, and now it's a 1-run lead for Harwich. And, again, this game's not over yet.
Outside of, I would say, Tyler Hardman for the Brewster Whitecaps, I don't think I've seen anyone have as much success against the Harwich Mariners this season than Shea Whitcomb. I mean, he just drives in runs left and right. Now, 7 RBIs on the season and just 17 at-bats. He has just been a monster against the M's.
But the top 4 guys have been taken care of, and now it'll be the bottom 5, starting with Rob Emery. And this is the part of the order that Zwak did an awfully good job of, as they went 5 up, 5 down, including a pair of strikeouts. First pitch will be fouled off down the third baseline by Emery, who was a strikeout victim his first time up.
Yeah, remember the last time these two teams played in that doubleheader, the first game, there were 5 home runs? It's already been 5 home runs in this game, and we're in the top of the 4th inning.
Fortunately for the Mariners, 3 of them belong to Harwich. Just the one from Whitcomb on the Orleans side. This pitch will miss outside. Count goes 1-1 here as Rob Emery looking to improve on a 2019 season that's been kind of up and down for him. Overall, he's looked okay, hitting .271 on the year, but it's been kind of slow recently. So the 1-1 will be fouled off. And the count goes 1-2 here.
And all 5 of the home runs hit so far have just been pulled. Everyone just kind of getting around on fastballs. And it's a little surprising how humid it is, and the ball just is jumping out of the yard compared to the weather, which is very similar to what we saw yesterday evening in Chatham.
This one will miss high and away. Count going to 1-2 here after getting ahead here. Did Nick's walk. And the other thing, too, if his walk can go deep into this game, and again, it's only a 7-inning game, so if Harwich can find a way to complete this one and they do lock down the playoff spot, you have an opportunity to you rest Jacob Polish, you rest Connor McCullough. You'll have Seckler available as well, as this one is fouled onto the outfield grass. Once again, Acton will chase it back and make the catch for the first out of the inning. You've got your 3 best starters ready to go for the postseason, and all of them will have at least 5 days off. That is an ideal scenario to be in for Harwich. So this game right here is actually the most important, as, yeah, they will play against Brewster, and likely that game, you know, may or may not matter depending on what the Whitecaps and Harwich Mariners do. But if they can get the win here and lock down that spot, you can rest all 3 of those guys. You can rest your bullpen arms as well. And really, I mean, it's going to be a pretty good position to be in going into that first postseason game with either YD or Chatham.
Yeah, the East is really going to be fun to watch once the playoffs begin. I mean, I could see really any of these teams coming out of the East, depending on how hot they are coming into the playoffs.
1-0 pitch will be in there for a strike. You would almost argue that the one team that may have the worst chance might actually be Orleans, as they've had a couple of big winning streaks, but aside from that, they haven't really been able to put it all together at any point this year. As the 1-1 pitch is fouled off the arm, it looks like, of Pat Winkle, and the count will be 1-2 here, so he'll take a moment to shake that off.
The good thing with Orleans, though, I think, is they have probably the best balance between pitching and hitting out of any of the 4 teams. A .241 team average is solid. They've got power up and down the lineup, and a 3.41 ERA out of pitching was good enough for second in the league going into yesterday. I'm pretty sure they have the top spot now after the rough outing for Chatham. So a very well-balanced team, but as you mentioned, we know how streaky they can be. We'll see if they can kind of put everything together at the right time.
So here comes Walk's 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss as he gets way out in front of that, Eddie McCabe, and that'll be strikeout number 3 on the day for his walk in the second out of the inning.
Yeah, despite getting beat by the long ball and then the extra base hit from Whitcomb, outside of really facing Shea Whitcomb, he has looked really strong on the mound. He's got that strikeout pitch working, notching 4 now in 3 2/3 of an inning.
So here comes Tanner Murray. Murray is 0 for 1 today. He grounded out to Chris Lanzilli at first, his first time up. Murray on the year out of UC Davis, hitting .219. In case you're wondering, yes, he does have 2 home runs, as that seems to be about the only way we're going to see runs come across in this game, with the exception of Shea Whitcomb's RBI double. Here's a ball hit to short. Hal Hughes coming in, picks it up, fires across, and that's in time for the third out of the inning. So after the solo shot from Shea Whitcomb, the Firebirds go down 1-2-3. Harwich still holds a 4-3 lead, and they'll try to build on that when we come back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to Harwich Mariners baseball here on the Mariners YouTube network. Tyler Henry and Colin Casey bringing you a good one from White House Field, as it is 4-3. Harwich looking to build on a 1-run lead. And Colin, so far, pretty much everybody has been productive for this team, not only today but over the past couple of days. So certainly an opportunity coming up here to pad a few more runs onto the lead and help Nick's walkout, as again, you feel like he's probably going to be expected to go pretty deep into this game if he can.
And he deserves to, the way he's been pitching outside of a couple of at-bats, and most notably the two against Shea Whitcomb where he got beat by a double and a solo home run. So outside of that, he's able to limit those extra base hits. He should have a fine outing and give his team a great chance at winning this ball game.
And again, no matter what happens, this game will only go 7 innings, so Harwich is closing in on a victory here with a few more to go. It'll be Christian Fetko to lead things off here in the 4th. He reached on a single back in the 2nd inning and was thrown out by Max Troiani trying to take home plate. And he will drive another one, but right at the shortstop. Tanner Murray doesn't even have to move, and it's going to be 1 pitch, 1 out here for Adam Seminaris.
Here come the Brewster Whitecaps. An RBI single for Marcus Castanon, and the lead is now down to 1.
And I'm seeing runners at 1st and 2nd with how many outs? Just the 1. So this could get interesting, as again, even a tie for the Brewster Whitecaps is more positive than a loss, especially with a few more games left to go in the season. They do have the game in hand over Harwich, as on August 1st they will play against the Bourne Braves. Here it's Pat Winkle digging in. He's 0 for 1 today, grounded out to the second baseman, and he will take the first pitch inside for ball 1.
You got to appreciate the fight, too, from the Whitecaps in this one. I mean, trailing 5-0 at one point, some people are like, all right, pack it in. We're not going to be able to keep things going as fastball is over. But they continue to battle back for 1 run in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, and now 1 in an ongoing 6th inning. Team that just won't quit on their season.
Well, to their credit, they were a Whitecaps team that wasn't supposed to make the playoffs last season either, as this one misses low and away, but they were able to make it, and not only did they get in, they were able to eliminate YD, who had the best record in the East last season. So this is a team that's always going to have a lot of fight in them, especially under Jamie Shevchuk. But they're still going to have to get a little bit of help from this Orleans team, which trails by 1, as this one's taken right at 2nd. It'll be picked up by Whitcomb, who throws on the first in time to retire the 2nd out of the inning.
I'm sure they're happy that there's roster turnover, because I'm sure the Orleans team of last season wouldn't want to help out Brewster, because them missing the playoffs came at their expense, or them making the playoffs, Brewster making the playoffs, came at the expense of the Orleans Firebirds.
I mean, the Orleans Firebirds team from last year didn't really seem too interested in
No,
helping
they
themselves
didn't.
out either, as they lost 9 of their last 10. The vibe around the clubhouse was that they kind of just wanted to go home, and, well, they certainly did, as the one win that they had came on a walk-off victory on the last game of the season after they had already been mathematically eliminated by the Brewster Whitecaps. Standing in now is Corey Acton. He's already got 1 single today, and then he moved up to 2nd on an error, a pickoff move that was wild from Seminaris over to Marcano. He's got a 1-0 count here, and he stands in from the right side. The big lefty kicks and deals. And that one's going to be taken into the 5-hole. No, it won't. It's picked up by Murray, but there won't be a throw that's anywhere near in time. How about that for Tanner Murray to get his glove on that? I thought that was through.
Yeah, you know who else thought it was through? Was Corey Acton, because he started to kind of round first and was ready to go, and then he realized, oh, we made the play on that, so he kind of straightened himself out and ran through the bag. But there you go, Corey Acton, 2 for 2. He continues to hit the ball well. He and Chris Lanzilli have just been carrying the offense over the last couple of days.
And Corey Acton, a guy that was just taking some time to get healthy. Again, he was a very late arrival here from Florida, despite them not going too deep into the playoffs. And, you know, again, he was just taking some time to rest up that wrist. But ever since he's come back and has really looked good, he's been phenomenal. As how Hughes squares to bunt and pulls this back to take strike 1.
Hughes, he did strike out in his first at-bat, but another guy who's been seeing the ball really well had an RBI fielder's choice yesterday after reaching base twice, and even the game before, batting the 7-hole, picked up another RBI against the Chatham Anglers in the home game.
Pretty good lead over there at first for Corey Acton, who gets a lot of attention from Seminaris, who he will bring the pitch home, and changeup misses for ball 1.
Another opportunity with 2 away. So far, 3 of the 4 runs for the Mariners coming with 2 outs in the inning.
And at one point, it was 28 out of 52 runs the Mariners had scored came with 2 away. So this is something they've been doing throughout the entire month of July, and it's really helped them out. I mean, they've been able to rally from some really tough spots this year. The 1-1 pitch, that'll miss low and in as Hughes takes a fastball, and the count goes 2-1 here. With a runner on first and 2 away, the Mariners leading at 4-3 here in the bottom half of the 4th. Top of the order looming on deck with Daniel Cabrera standing in the on-deck circle. And Adam Seminaris pitching through his 4th inning of work. Seminaris sets and deals. And that one will be chopped weakly foul down the third base line to even the count at 2-2.
Hughes, another thing that's really helped him feel more comfortable with the plate is working those lengthy counts. We saw him do that a lot against the YD Red Sox in that series. It seemed like every at-bat was going 6-7 pitches.
Yep, he's been able to really agitate opposing pitchers, and while he hasn't always found his way on base, it certainly helped Harwich get into opponents' bullpens quicker. The 2-1 swung on and missed, and I was going to say, I thought it was 2-2, so that will be strike 3, and down goes Hal Hughes to end the inning. But again, Harwich still holding a 1-run lead. It'll be Nick Swak coming back out to try to defend it when we come back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field as we go to the 5th inning, and Colin, an update from Chatham. Things are getting a little dicey out there for the Chatham Anglers, as it looks like the bases were loaded, and Brewster was down 4-5. Now the game is tied. The bases remain loaded with 1 out, and Brewster could very well make a comeback here and pick up a big-time victory against the Chatham Anglers. We'll keep you up to date on that.
Yeah, it's just been a remarkable last couple of innings for Brewster. Duke Ellis drives in the tying run on a single with the bases loaded. The bases are going to remain loaded now for Brewster with still 1 away, and Brett Auerbach at the plate, who homered earlier in his last at-bat.
And they're doing all of this in the 6th inning. So coming into that inning, they were down to potentially the final 6 outs of what could have essentially been their season, depending on the Harwich result. But, oh boy, it just continues to roll here for the Brewster Whitecaps, and they very well could take the lead. Again, we'll keep you up to date on that. Here it is 4-3 Harwich, and it'll be 8-9-1 coming up to bat for the Orleans Firebirds, starting with David Avidia, who's 0 for 1 today with a strikeout. Avidia, the Firebirds catcher, standing in from the left side, and Nick Swak out there for a 5th inning of work, the windup and the pitch. Fastball will catch the corner up and out, and it's a 0-1 count.
And I'm sure Brewster will take a tie, but they really desperately need a win to give themselves some momentum coming into the second game of the doubleheader.
And that would be a lot of momentum if they, well, there it is. Inside the park, grand slam / error, 8-5 Caps.
Wait, wouldn't it be 9-5?
It should be. I'm guessing this is not. This is from the Brewster Whitecaps official Twitter account.
So that was Ellis. So it wasn't actually a single. It was just a grand inside the park grand slam.
And it could have been a little league style, as again mentioned, of an error. We'll try to get you an update on what exactly happened there. But the point is, the Whitecaps are up 8-5 in the 6th inning out there at Veterans Field. So it looks like the game between Harwich and Brewster will have playoff implications one way or another. And if Harwich hangs on to this lead, they do make it a little easier on themselves, as this one's chopped to Cavadas, picks it up. Another long throw coming up, and that's going to be to Lanzilli in time to retire Avidia. But it was looking so good about 15 minutes ago that Harwich could have the potential to lock up a playoff spot at the end of this game, and that's still certainly within the realm of possibility, as that Chatham offense has been very good all season long. But whether or not it'll actually go that way, we will have to wait and see.
And it's just been a really rough last couple of days in right field for Kendrick Kalilau, as it was a single for Ellis and then a fielding error by Kalilau that allowed everybody to score, all 4 runs.
Here comes the first pitch to Zach Daniels. He swings wildly at that one, and he'll fall behind 0-1. Nick Swak's looked really good. He mentioned a couple of big hits given up to Shea Whitcomb, but aside from that, he's been cutting through this order 1 through 9, and we'll see whether or not he can continue to stay hot, as he has retired the last 4 he's seen. A wild pitch up and out makes the count 1-1 here on the Firebirds 9-hole hitter.
Yeah, he settled down pretty well after the first inning outside of that home run. I mean, if you take away that home run, he's retired something like 11 in a row right now.
The 1-1 pitch, big swing and a miss. Zach Daniels trying to tie this one up with 1 swing of the bat, and he can't do it. So apparently the single from Ellis got under the glove of Colin Hall in the outfield and rolled all the way to the wall. So that's your error, and that is what leads to the 8-5 lead for Brewster. The 1-2 pitch. That one narrowly misses on the outer half. Count is even here at 2-2 on Zach Daniels.
I'm sure your good friend Koki Riley over in Brewster is probably mind blown right now.
He is probably freaking out in some way or another. Again, me and Alex Weiner, our team photographer here at Harwich, are both living with our friend Koki Riley from Arizona State as this one is fouled off by Zach Daniels. And there's been a fair amount of trash talk over the past couple of weeks between the three of us, but all in good fun. And it's been getting more and more intense between the two teams going into the final couple days of the season here. So Zach Daniels with a 2-2 count. He's already 0 for 1 today. He flew out to Chris Lanzilli in foul territory his first time up. He stands in. Zwak from the windup. Here comes the 2-2. And ball 3. That one looked awfully close on the inner half there, but they're going to say it missed off the inner half of the black, and it's going to be a full count here on Zach Daniels.
Yeah, that one had pretty good movement from Zwak. It looked like the cutter there that was coming in, but couldn't quite get it over the plate.
Payoff pitch, that'll miss low and inside, and it will be a 6-pitch walk here to Zach Daniels with one away in the inning in the top of the order coming up to bat. So Jacob Hurtubise comes to the plate here. Hurtubise has already reached once and come around to score back in the first inning. He bunted a single, and you wonder whether or not they might be content to play a little small ball here and move the runner up to second. And it would put 2 outs on the board, but it does bring up Julio Marcano and then maybe Max Troiani with a chance to score that run. Hurtubise stands in from the right side, the ex-Harwich Mariner getting his third at bat against his former team here today. And it will be lefty on lefty as Zwak goes back out of the stretch. This is the first time he's done so since the first inning. Here comes his first pitch, and that'll be popped high in the air. Plenty of time for this one to come down as it's going to be misplayed in center by Joey Weimer, and everybody's going to be safe.
Wow, this has just been quite the strange day in terms of defense from both teams, as that's going to be a fielding error on Weimer, the third committed. And I guess Weimer just simply lost that one in the sun. There's no other really excuse for that one.
Well, and let me tell you this, too. The one thing people forget about coming into this game, every other game this year, with the exception of – no, actually, every other game. This is the earliest game that Harwich has ever played in a day, coming in here at 2 o'clock p.m. for the start time. The sun is not where it usually is for these Cape League games. They're all evening games. I mean, the early starts at places like Stony Brook Field and Katuitt start at 4:30 at the earliest. So, you know, the outfielders haven't really had to fight that sun all season long, and that's a part of the reason why we've seen 2 drop balls out in the outfield. Harwich is hoping that it doesn't come back to bite them as Marcano will drill one, and that's going to get over the head of Acton and roll into right. 1 run will come across to score, and they will hold the runner up at third, trying to take second as Marcano gets past him, and it's going to roll as coming off the bag, but holding up wisely there was Jacob Hurtubise. What a crazy sequence of events, and the Firebirds have gotten that 1 run back. We're now knotted up at 4.
I mean, this is one of the crazier games ever. You see all the power, and now some defensive mistakes from both teams, and a big one from Weimer gives the Firebirds a chance with first and second, and Marcano delivers. He was on the team earlier in the season, had an injury and kind of left for a little bit, but he comes back and comes up with a huge game-tying double to right center.
So again, it's going to be an RBI double here for Marcano. That moves Hurtubise, the fastest guy on the team, up to third, and with 1 away, anything put in the outfield here by Max Troiani will likely score Jacob Hurtubise. As the other interesting note on him, this could very well just be another single. The infield trying to prevent the run as it's tied up here for the time being, and the first pitch will miss low for ball 1.
Yeah, this is a perfect guy at the plate for Orleans. All you need is a single, and that's what Troiani does a lot of, and a single here with the runner on second being Marcano might be able to plate too.
He has had 44 hits, 43 singles. Today he is 1 for 2. Here comes the 1-0, and that'll miss inside. No, it catches the zone, and the count is even at 1-1.
That was a tough call there, and I think Troiani wants to get confirmation with the home plate ump as if that was on the lower part of the plate or exactly where that caught in terms of what part of the plate.
Cam Bauman is up and warming in the Harwich Mariners bullpen, one of 2 guys who is listed as available to pitch today. It's him and Joe Boyle, the 2 out of the pen. Here comes the 1-1. Troiani will foul this one off, and Zwak is 1 pitch away from potentially getting himself out of some trouble here, as if he can get this second out, it's going to put a lot less tension on the Harwich defense. Right now the corners are in, trying to prevent the run if it comes down to it.
Yeah, the 1 run in being unearned, and another unearned base runner on third base in Jacob Hurtubise.
So once again, it's going to be two of the 4 runs given up by Zwak by the unearned variety. Zwak comes to the belt, the 1-2. Here it comes to Troyani. Off speed, misses high, and the count evens here at 2-2.
We know how dangerous of a hitter Max Troyani is, but you really want to pitch to him here with Shea Whitcomb waiting in the on-deck circle.
Yeah, definitely not the guy you want. I mean, you don't want either scenario necessarily, but I mean, you feel like with the way Troyani's been swinging the bat, the worst he could do would be drive in 1, maybe 2 runs, whereas Whitcomb could really put some separation between these two teams. But nonetheless, it'll be Zwak's to get. With a 2-2 count, the lefty from Xavier comes set. Checks the runner to second. Here's the pitch. And it's fouled away. We'll do it again. Another interesting thing of note here is this is a 2 o'clock start time. A lot of people at work. It's a really small crowd here at White House Field. But again, this is not a game that was originally scheduled at 2 p.m. This was a game that was supposed to be played earlier this season. So once again, it'll be a 2-2 count. Max Troyani standing in from the left side. The singles machine looking to give his team 1 more and potentially the lead here in the 5th. Zwak sets the 2-2. Swung on and taken right back up the middle. It's going to get through, and that will plate 2. They will send the runner around. He'll be in without a throw, and Troyani finds a way to get yet another single that gives his team a 6-4 lead here in the 5th.
Nick Zwak almost was able to make that play kind of behind his back. It was a hard hit ball right up the middle. A good piece of hitting by Troyani, and couldn't quite get a glove on it, so the inning's going to continue, and Orleans, just like Brewster, fighting back despite trailing earlier in the game 4-2.
I mean, when you look at what's going on at Veterans Field and you look at what's going on here, this has been a disastrous 2-inning swing for the Harwich Mariners, and now Coach Steve Englert's going to come out and have a word with his guy. We'll see whether or not this is the end of the outing for Nick Zwak, as again, Cam Bauman is up and warming in the Harwich pen. And, you know, regardless of whether or not this is a win, a loss, or a tie for Harwich, you still don't want to get too deep into that bullpen. You only have to go through a few more innings in this game regardless, and trying to save arms for later in the day and later tomorrow. So we'll see what happens, but, man, this has just been a disastrous 20 minutes for the Mariners.
And it has been a phenomenal 20 minutes for the Orleans Firebirds, with Chatham losing now to Brewster and Orleans taking the lead now. All of a sudden, their hopes for maybe winning and getting that #1 seed have been completely revived over the last few minutes.
It's also been a pretty good 20 minutes for the Brewster Whitecaps, who take the lead themselves over Chatham, and then they'll have a chance to come here to Harwich and play in a crucial Game 1. Now, again, there are a lot of playoff scenarios. We've been talking about the positive ones, and let's get into the negative ones for Harwich just for a moment. So if Harwich loses this game and the Brewster Whitecaps are able to get a victory, you look at the standings, and that would put Brewster just 3 points behind Harwich. That's a game and a half. Now, if they split, Harwich is still in a good position where they would be a game and a half going in. That's pretty much it. But again, there are just so many different variables that play into it. The other one, of course, being Brewster's game on the last day of the season, August 1st, against the Bourne Braves. And normally you'd say, well, the Bourne Braves have struggled this year, but they kicked Brewster's teeth in yesterday as they had a 13-3 victory. And again, this will be the end as we see Nick Zwak come off the field. So let's take a break. When we come back, we'll reintroduce you to Cam Bauman, get you a couple numbers on him, all that around the corner. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball here on the Harwich YouTube Network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey. It'll be Cam Bauman taking over here to complete the rest of the 5th inning. And tough day for Nick Zwak. Again, he looked pretty good up until that 5th inning with the exception of the few runs he did give up. But in the 5th, Orleans really came out and got to him. It started with a Zach Daniels walk. Then Jacob Hurtubise reached on what probably going to be the most crucial error of the game by Weimer out in center. Then Marcano scores a run with the RBI double, and Max Troyani with the 2 RBI single. So hopefully the inning comes to a close here as Bauman can find a way to get the last couple of outs, Colin.
Yeah, no question about it, though. That error from Weimer really a difference maker in this inning. Both runs coming home and eventually giving Orleans the lead at the moment. Max Troyani with a clutch piece of one-out hitting, taking the ball right up the middle, and that ended Zwak's day after 4 1/3 innings pitch. He is still responsible for Troyani on first, and as of right now, that's 3 unearned runs allowed by the Mariners.
So let's see whether or not they can get him back, as they will still have a maximum of 9 outs left to use up in this game. Still haven't hit in the home half of the 5th, and there's no concern of any kind of darkness or anything like that. So we will play the full 7 one way or another. Still plenty of chances for Harwich to make a comeback, but they have to start by getting 2 outs here. The infield goes to double play depth. Is coming to the plate for a 3rd time today is Shea Whitcomb, and he's been putting on a clinic. A double and a home run so far for him. Runner takes off. The throw down to second by Winkle is going to get off the glove of Corey Acton, and nobody will advance. So it'll be a stolen base here for Max Troyani, and that eliminates the double play.
Yeah, not ideal for the Mariners because now you got a runner in scoring position with Whitcomb at the plate. We know the power that he has, and this homer came against the lefty's walk. Now with Cam Bauman in the game, let's see if he can try to at least get one in the outfield to advance Troyani at the very least.
Brewster and Chatham still 8-5 Whitecaps. That game in the bottom of the 6th. And I'll tell you what, I mean, again, regardless of whether or not Harwich comes out on top or underneath in this game, if Brewster wins, they're still in the playoff picture for the time being, as the first pitch is a strike here to Shea Whitcomb. It's actually a 1-1 count, but the game between Harwich and Brewster will matter as long as Brewster wins. And I'll tell you what, that's going to be just an absolute slugfest. I mean, those two teams are going to be going at it with everything they've got. It could be a really fun evening tonight. You're going to want to tune in for that one. So keep it locked right here. But for the time being, it's Cam Bauman, and the 1-1 pitch is going to be taken into the 5-hole once again. Hughes actually gets a glove on it. It will still be an infield single, but how about Hal Hughes, who just continues to dazzle with his defense out there at short.
And even within a defensive play like that by Hughes, which was a phenomenal one diving out on the outfield grass, you just still can't get out Shea Whitcomb, who is now a triple shy of the cycle, 3 for 3, with a double, a homer, and a single in his first 3 at-bats. And while he didn't bring home the run, now he sets up the DH Rob Emery with a chance to extend the Firebirds' lead.
Fortunately, the next 5 guys in the order are hitless so far, and the next 4 have not reached base. The lone guy to get on was Zach Daniels, who had the walk back in the 5th inning. So Rob Emery coming to the plate. He's 0 for 2, a strikeout and a flyout. Runners on 1st and 3rd, and Harwich has the double play available again. So that's the one big positive to take from that last at bat, as the first pitch from Bauman is going to be in there for a strike, low and away.
Yeah, rough start to the game for Emery with a pair of strikeouts, but all it needs is a fly ball right now to bring home that insurance run to extend the lead to 3.
So Cam Bauman getting another start here. Fastball, curveball, changeup. The changeup, a pitch that he's been developing throughout the course of the 2019 summer campaign. And here comes his 0-1. Fastball low and in. That'll miss, and the count evens at 1-1. So they're not overly concerned about the runner coming home, although Cavadas playing back on the bag here. But the middle infield, the double play depth, again, that's the biggest thing here if they can find a way to double off Shea Whitcomb and Rob Emery.
One other quick scoreboard update. Bourne and Wareham currently ongoing in Bourne, and Braves with a 2-1 lead over the Gatemen.
Here comes the 1-1. Big swing and a miss by Rob Emery, as pulling the string there was Cam Bauman, keeping it high, and the count is 1-2.
Of course, that game really not much of importance for anybody really involved, because Wareham, they've effectively been taken out of the hunt for that 1 seed because Falmouth was able to clinch it the other night.
Yeah, they're basically playing for a chance to have home field advantage against Katuitt, as this ball is going to be taken to center. Weimer coming in. He will make the catch. They will send the runner, and the throw is not going to be in time, as Bauman will cut it off. So another run comes across to score. Max Troyani coming in on an RBI sac fly from Rob Emery. And with 2 out in the inning, here comes Eddie McCabe.
Yeah, Emery just doing his job there, getting the bat on the ball, making solid contact, and hit the ball pretty hard, but it was right at Joey Gallen. But too much speed coming home from Troyani, and would have been a really tough play to make by pretty much any outfielder in this league. So big insurance run for Orleans. That's now 4 runs in the inning for the Firebirds.
So here comes Eddie McCabe, who's 0 for 2, a strikeout and a flyout himself. Harwich has a couple of options for this last out, and that will officially end the outing of Nick Zwak, as he's no longer on the hook for any base runners. And again, Colin, a day where he looked pretty okay, but a couple of unearned runs coming across really hurts his case.
Yeah, the strikeout pitch was working early. He had 4 in the first 4 innings, but this 5th inning he really just struggled to get anybody out.
Bauman ready for the 0-1 pitch. Here it comes. And that one's going to be taken into right. Cabrera will have time. He's charging in on it, and that one's going to get down and past his glove. They will wave the runner around third. Whitcomb's coming home. Cabrera picks it up. Whitcomb's going to be in easily. He will launch it to third, and it's going to be a hustle triple here for Eddie McCabe that plates another run, and it's 8-4 Firebirds here in the fifth.
It was great hustle there from Daniel Cabrera, but he really just needed to cut his losses and not kind of give a half lunge at that ball. It's a really tough play to make when it's falling that quickly, but he kind of should have just played that one on a hop. Instead, it gets past him, and Whitcomb's able to score from first base, and I believe will be ruled.
That had previously not been producing. Really, another insurance run just 90 feet away as the first pitch from Bauman. They'll appeal down to first base umpire left field. Galland coming in. Hughes coming out. Galland will call him off, and he'll make the catch to finally end a nightmare fifth inning, which will try desperately.
Sunderland Printing, Access Bank.
Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we go here to the home half of the fifth. Harwich has some work to do here, and their work has been cut out for them as they went from having a 4-3 lead going into that last half inning, and now they trail 8-4. So it was a huge inning for Orleans, and to their credit, they've been doing this against Harwich all season long, making comebacks as all four of their wins. I believe Harwich had the first run, or at least had a lead at one point or another, and Orleans came back and made a victory. So still a lot of baseball left to be played as Daniel Cabrera leads things off here in the fifth inning for Harwich, and the first pitch to him will miss inside for ball one.
Yeah, looking back on those games, we had the game where Harwich took a 1-0 lead, and then Orleans took it right back in the bottom of the fifth inning back on July 10th as that pitch is fouled off.
And then, of course, there was the game where Corey Acton had the 2-run home run early that granted Harwich a lead. I believe it was 2-1 at the time. Orleans came back and got the victory there. Then there was the doubleheader game against Orleans. That one at Eldridge Park. Harwich scored in the second inning to take a 1-0 lead, and then had a Chris Gallen home run in the third to go up 2-0. And then a 6-run inning out of the Orleans Firebirds in the third gave them an even bigger lead there. So again, it's been big innings that have sustained Orleans this season against Harwich as Cabrera swings through that, and that's strike three. One out here in the fifth.
And for the Brewster and Chatham game, that one now in the bottom of the seventh, Chatham able to get out of a second and third with one away jam to avoid giving up any further damage. So in the bottom of the seventh, it's going to come down to a final inning for Chatham to try to pick up a victory against Brewster and hinder their playoff chances. But Brewster 3 outs away from making things really interesting.
And that's a Chatham team that you really wonder how interested they are as this pitch is in there for a strike to Chris Galland. Again, a team that this season has had their fair share of success, but again, they're basically just competing for that one seed. The next pitch to Galland will miss for ball one.
And of course, with everything that's been going on, that really brings Orleans back into the picture for that one seed, of course, pending what YD does tonight.
The YD Red Sox with just 2 games left to play as Galland will send this one high in the air. That one's going to get right behind him as it will drop foul. So, again, that's an interesting scenario, too, because Orleans has so many games left. The YD Red Sox, while they are currently in second place, they only have 1 game left to play after today. So, you know, and interestingly enough, they didn't have a lot of makeups that they had to go to, and that's resulted in a shortened schedule here. You know their guys are going to be well rested going into the last couple of days.
That's going to be a dangerous lineup, especially well rested going into the playoffs. I'm sure nobody will want to have to face Austin Wells and Wyatt Young well rested.
Gallen takes this one to deep center field straight away. Chasing it back is Hurtubise, and he will make the catch just shy of the warning track for out number 2.
Yeah, Gallen making some solid contact there. If he managed to pull it, he probably would have had his second home run of the season, but Instead, his former teammate drops back and makes a catch out in front of that 400-foot marker.
So here comes Joey Weimer. He's 0 for 1 today. He did reach on an error back in the first inning and came around to score in that one. So a pretty good set coming up here for him, trying to bounce back after the, well, quote-unquote injury bug bit him. Weimer digs in from the left side. 2 away here in the 5th inning for Harwich. Again, this game only going 7 innings, the first half of a split doubleheader, and everybody in the East except for YD has a split doubleheader today as Weimer takes the first pitch for a ball. The Brewster Whitecaps playing, of course, at Chatham in Game 1, then playing here at White House Field for Game 2. The Orleans Firebirds playing here now. They will go back to Eldridge Park to host the Chatham Anglers. As Weimer chops this one to third, it's picked up by McCabe, who throws across in time for out number 3. So that'll do it for the 5th. We go on to the 6th inning of play. 2 innings left to go here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. They trail it 8-4.
Number 20, the catcher, David Avidia.
We're here in the top of the 6th from White House Field as Orleans with an 8-4 lead over the Harwich Mariners. Orleans looking to make it 5 of 6 victories against the Mariners this season, and after batting around, they will have the 8, 9, and 1 hitters due up. David Avidia lays off the first pitch for a ball. That Brewster game wrapping up, but not before Chatham making a little bit of noise in the bottom of the inning as Caden Polkovich is on second base with nobody out as swing and a miss for strike 1 to Avidia.
Yep, the tying run is going to be on deck, so Chatham does still have an opportunity. There's still a chance that they can come back in that one as Brewster's got their closer out there now.
Swinging a foul to the backstop, and Avidia has had a quiet game so far, as is most of the bottom of the order. He is 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground out. The only base runner was Zach Daniels, reaching on a walk last inning from the bottom 3 as Avidia now strikes out for the second time as Bauman going with the off-speed there, and it's one quick out to begin the 6th.
Yep, Bauman with a fresh inning and an opportunity to really showcase what he can do as he's no longer got his feet to the fire, and he gets Avidia swinging for the first out of the inning. And how about this? A quick walk is going to put runners at first and second for the Chatham Anglers and bring what I believe is the tying run up to the plate.
And scheduled to bat in that spot will be Alex Terral. So the first pitch to Zach Daniels is over for a strike. He popped out in the second, walked in the 5th, and came around to score. Cam Bauman wrapped up the 5th inning, now pitching his first full inning as the 0-1 is on the outside corner.
Yep, Daniels, of course, reached on a walk to get things started for this Firebirds team in the 5th inning, and then they went on to score 5 runs.
Daniels out of Tennessee as the 0-2 is hit up the middle, and that's going to be a base hit. So Zach Daniels picks up his first hit against the Harwich Mariners this season, and with his speed, that's a big base runner on with 1 out in the 6th.
The other thing to think about is momentum. Harwich had all the momentum going into today after an 11-0 win over the over the Chatham Anglers, and of course Brewster did not have any, getting a tough loss, 13-3 against the Bourne Braves. But that could very well switch here. If a comeback victory, you get the feeling Chatham's going to come in here fired up, and Harwich can't find a way to come back here. It's going to be a very tough loss, especially in the fashion they lost it.
First pitch to Hurtubise is over for a strike. Jacob Hurtubise singled and came around to score in the first, grounded out to third in the third, and reached via an error out to center. And
Ano, who's already got from here on in.
Marcano had a couple of flyouts before that big double in the fifth. That one coming off the starter, Nick Zwok, who went 4 1/3. First pitch is over for strike one.
Really quickly, that fifth inning was the first time the Harwich Mariners did not have a hit in an inning today. They had gotten one in the first 4, but unable to come up with anything in the fifth.
Right-hander Chase Wallace warming up in the bullpen for the Orleans Firebirds, as he might be coming on to try to close out the final 2 innings of this one. 0-1 pitch is a fastball up and away for ball one.
Fortunately, it will be a much cooler nightcap, hopefully, as that game's set for a 6 o'clock start. Some time for the sun to go down a little bit and for these guys to not be roasting out there in the heat.
1-1 just misses outside. Following Marcano is Troyani, Whitcomb, and Emery, and Troyan and Whitcomb just continue to terrorize Harwich Mariners pitching this season. The 2-1. Lined up the middle, and that's going to be another base hit, so a couple of up-the-middle singles have Orleans in business once again with 2 away in the 6th.
Yep, and here comes Max Troyani, who again has 2 hits today already, an RBI, 2 runs scored, and a stolen base. So Orleans looking for a few more insurance runs with 2 away. Harwich did a good job quickly getting the first 2 outs, but lately it's been an awfully heavy dose of hits up the middle.
Troyani out of Bentley University, just north off the Cape. However, he's not a Mass native from Pittsford, New York, but a lot of experience playing baseball here in the Bay State, as the first pitch breaking ball misses down and in for ball one.
Good stop there by Winkle. That's the other thing you can't afford to have right now is a passed ball, which would move 2 more runners into scoring position. So a 1-0 count here. Bauman looking to bounce back after what's been an on and off inning for him. Find a way to get Max Troyani out for the 2nd time today.
Daniels at second, Marcano at first. The 1-0. And that one misses outside.
A new pitcher has been brought into the game for the Brewster Whitecaps as that one continues to go on. Still runners at first and second for Chatham with, I believe, 1 away.
Yes, 1 down as Terrell had flown out for out number 1. And the pitcher is actually Kurt Wilson, who hit a home run against the Harwich Mariners in that 12-11 shootout, as the 2-0 pitch is over for a strike.
It was Kurt Wilson's first home run of the year. A lot of guys getting their first home runs of the season against Harwich Mariners this year. It's been really the only negative side of their pitching this whole year has been struggling to keep the ball inside the park. Other than that, they've looked exceptional throughout the 2019 summer.
2-1 is fouled off, and Troyani looking to buck the trend of only getting singles on that swing.
Yep, just the 1 double. So that's the other thing, too. He's only got 1 extra base hit on the whole year. No triples, no home runs, 1 double, and about 39 singles.
One single right here might be able to plate that insurance run over on second.
It's a wonder he's not hitting leadoff.
Good point. The 2-2 is on the inside corner for strike 3, and that will end the inning. Troyani goes down looking, and we head to the bottom half of the 6th. Orleans still with an 8-4 lead here at White House Field. You're watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Bottom of the 6th inning from Harwich, and what will be a 7-inning affair. And the Mariners looking to come back after having an early 4-2 lead, but 6 unanswered runs for the Orleans Firebirds puts the score at 8-4 with Chris Lanzilli at the plate, who is 2 for 2 with 2 long balls and 3 RBIs.
Yep, and both in the same spot out to deep left field. So see whether or not he can maybe tally one more here and cut the lead down to 3, or at least find his way on base for the rest of the Harwich order. Quick update out in Brewster. Still, the scores is still the same, 8-5, but the Chatham A's have the bases loaded with 1 away, and the pitching-hitting matchup will be Kurt Wilson against Charlie Welch, who had, I believe, the 3-run home run earlier today for Chatham. So see whether or not he can work some magic here. Brewster trying desperately to get out of that one with anything short of a loss.
So in steps Lanzilli out of Wake Forest, who's actually drafted in this past June's draft, the MLB draft, taken the 39th round by the San Francisco Giants. So the first pitch to the Stoneham, Mass native, and Lanzilli was looking for number 3 on that swing, but instead he fouls it straight back.
Strike 3 called out in Chatham on Charlie Welch. That'll be out number 2, and Brewster is 1 out away from locking down that game.
The 0-1 to Lanzilli is hit down the right field line, but that will get out of play, foul. Lanzilli will be followed by Cavadas and Christian Fedko. As Lanzilli now actually the team leader in home runs with 3. Number of guys at 2 now, something we haven't seen all season long, but Daniel Cabrera, Corey Acton, a couple of guys at 2, along with Dylan Noisy, as the 0-2 is a fastball that misses down and in.
Yep, and it took him a long time to get there, as it seemed like everybody was just trading off, hitting their 1 home run of the season that they were going to have, except for Nico Cavadas. And then, of course, Noisy had 2 in 1 game, and that kind of kicked off a couple of guys getting their second. Lanzilli could have 4 right now if it weren't for that rain out in Katuitt.
1-2 is a jam shot on the first base side, but Marcano unable to get there in time. So the count remains 1-2 to Lanzilli, who again, the last time he was retired on I guess a play that didn't really result in any sort of benefit for the Mariners, which was, I guess, bottom line, not including sacrifice flies. Last time he was retired, you would have to go all the way back to July 27th in the second inning of that game on a ground out. Since then, he's reached base every single time.
Yeah, essentially the last time he was retired without scoring a run. So no RBIs, just a straight up out.
And of course, sac fly not actually considered an actual out. The 1-2 is hit down the left field line, but Lanzilli just out in front of it as it was pulled foul off to the left.
And you can kind of hear that wasn't the most solid contact he could have hoped for there. So he'll get another shot at it here.
Wallace continues to warm up in the pen for Orleans, as you have to wonder if he might just be coming in for the 7th, or in case Adam Seminaris runs into a bit of trouble in the 6th.
Still crazy to me that Seminaris is still out there to begin with, as this one's fouled away by Lanzilli. We talked about the workload that he shouldered not only throughout the course of the summer this year, but also during his collegiate season. So a guy whose arm is probably pretty close to falling off, and well, he's found his way on and still working through a 6th inning here.
He's retired 7 of his last 8 batters outside of a Corey Acton single through the left side. Here's another 1-2. Breaking ball dribbled down the left field line, so Lanzilli with a stingy at-bat. Eight to 4, the Orleans Firebirds lead the Mariners, as Harwich looking to inch their way closer to a playoff spot, as Lanzilli hits this one a ton out towards left field and deep. Going back at the wall, it's gone! Chris Lanzilli with his 3rd home run of the ball game, the second 3 home run game of the season, and Lanzilli with his 4th of the year What a game for the Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
Tell you what, he might be trying to compete with Nico Cavadas for the most home runs on the year, and if he keeps this up, he could catch him. I mean, 3 home runs in one game, something that I believe he's just the second guy in the Cape Cod Baseball League this year to do, period. So a huge day for Chris Lanzilli. It's turned into a huge week for him, and Harwich is going to need that going into the next game. A final to pass your way. Things have wrapped up out at Veterans Field in Chatham, an 8-5 win for the Brewster Whitecaps. So regardless of the result here today, it will come down to this. It's very simple for the Mariners. You win and you're in. If they can beat Brewster in either of these next 2 games, they have a chance to go into a playoff spot. And of course, that's the big thing is, they only need a few more points to do it, and they'll have a good shot to do that coming up.
So it'll be a new pitcher for the Orleans Firebirds as Seminaris' day is done after that home run ball. And what a game and what a last couple of weeks it's been for Chris Lanzilli, a guy who was struggling so much at the plate in the month of June, and boy, has he turned it around, especially this afternoon.
I mean, we talked about hitting just above 100 during the month of June. So you take that and you account it onto his total batting average, which is crazy. Let's take a look at his July numbers. He's hitting .357 with 20 hits. 5 of those are extra base hits, and now that number goes up to 8, and you tack 3 more home runs onto it. So 4 home runs for him, 17 RBIs throughout the month of July, and I mean, again, he has just been absolutely killing it, and we talked to him. We had a post-game interview with him earlier this year. I said, what has been the key to you kind of turning things around after the home run derby break? And he told us, he said it was just about staying aggressive. It was about going after pitches and not changing anything about the way he was playing at Wake Forest. And, well, the numbers have finally followed suit, as have the clutch performances, as Harwich's deficit has now been cut to just 3.
And this last 3-4 game stretch for Lanzilli rivals anything that Nico Cavadas had when he was on that hot stretch earlier in the month. And so the new pitcher set to go for the Orleans Firebirds is the right-hander Chase Wallace. Wallace has pitched, I believe, once before against the Mariners this season. The University of Tennessee Volunteer is 2-0 on the year with a 3.00 ERA and a save on the year. So a
one game, he pitched the lead to 3.
Righty against lefty is first pitch Nico Cavadas.
Throughout the streak, as he'll send this one high in the air and foul down the line. Talk about a 5. Absurd as well.
For the postseason, as a swing and a miss for strike 3, Nico Cavadas strikes out swinging. He's now 0 for 3 in the afternoon. That is the first out of the bottom of the 6th.
Yep, so here comes Christian Fedko. Fedko, of course, is 1 for 2, the single back in the 2nd inning, and then a line out right to the shortstop back in the 4th. So he'll look to get Harwich started again here. They've still got some work to do if they're going to come back and get a victory here.
So the line closes on Seminaris, goes 5 1/3 innings, giving up 5 runs, 4 of which earned, and 7 hits allowed. Still in line for the win, though, with his team leading 8-5. Fedko swings at the first pitch and chops it foul. No walks in the game for Adam Seminaris, so at least his control was there, but maybe a little too controlled against Chris Lanzilli in this outing.
Yep, he wasn't afraid to throw strikes the entire game, and that worked against a lot of different hitters, but Chris Lanzilli not one of them, as he took him deep 3 different times.
4 home runs in total for the Mariners as Fedko swings and misses. You had Daniel Cabrera lead off the 3rd inning with a solo shot.
And that's a new single-season record for Harwich, as they've 4 this year, so they would leave Seminaris out to pitch to Chris Lanzilli again in general if he was on that short of a leash.
Very interesting as they kind of try to stretch him out and maybe give Wallace just the 1 inning of work, as Wallace misses side with a fast run. For Orleans, 5.
The lineup that 1 through 9 is going to look pretty formidable for a days and into the month of August.
Things certainly looked better when that is not Marcano over at first base, so we've had a couple of changes. Or perhaps it might be, I don't know. But
7.
If so, that would be Trevin. Pat Winkle fouls pitch off to the left. I believe that is Esquera.
And Esquera had checked into
For the first baseman,